What up, people? It's me, Manny, and today I'm going to talk about the movie The Mask. No, not that mask, but the 1994 Jim Carrey comedy, The Mask. Now, of course, I loved this movie back then, but my younger brother loved it even more. So much more that he would play it every freaking day for like a year or two, where I got sick and tired of it. Like, I don't know how that VHS tape still worked. It got played so much. Don't worry, brother, I still love you. But anyways, it's been a while, so I think I could give this movie a fresh look, especially on its 30th year anniversary. So let's continue the Jim Carrey renaissance and discuss how The Mask holds up today. The Mask was released on July 29th, 1994, and it was directed by Chuck Russell. And playing the role of the protagonist, Stanley Ipkiss, is Jim Carrey, who was still unproven when he was casted for this movie.
At that time, Jim was not well known.
And I'm pretty sure Chuck said, well, I'm not making the movie unless we can get him to star in it.
The Mask is based on a comic book published by Dark Horse Comics, which in tone is completely different from the movie that we got. Now, there are plenty of videos talking about this already, so I'm not gonna get into all the details, but basically the comic book is violent as R-rated. In fact, this movie was first pitched as a horror movie, which is why they got Chuck Russell involved to direct, since he directed A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, in 1987. Thankfully, somewhere along the line, they decided to make this movie into a comedy instead, which in my opinion worked out much better. Now, I have not read the Mask comic books, but I've seen enough to know that I'm not interested. It just looks like revenge fantasy gore fest, with no substance to it. Violence for the sake of violence. Not interested. I have a similar opinion with the Kick-Ass comic book, which I actually did read, and did not like, since it was mean-spirited, cruel, and just not fun. The Kick-Ass movie is far superior in my opinion. Again, it's my opinion, so please take it easy in the comments. Or don't. I actually need the traction, so yeah, have at it. And like I said, this was one of my favorite movies growing up, but there was a point I got really tired of it. That's all thanks to my little brother who played the crap out of the VHS tape. It was just constant, every day. But anyways, let's get to it. And here's your spoiler warning, as I'm gonna talk about the entire movie's plot. Now, this movie takes place in the fictional city of Edge City, which looks like a polluted dump. On this day, I see clearly. We then see a scuba diver accidentally breaking free the mask from a chest. We then go to Edge City Bank, where we meet Stanley Ipkiss, who is way too nice, as he gives these 2 concert tickets that he paid for to his female co-worker he's trying to date, so she could go with her friend instead. All last minute. Like, what the f? Stanley's best friend, Charlie, played by Richard Jenny, may he rest in peace, lets him know how pathetic that was.
That was the most sickening display I've ever seen.
We then get introduced to Tina Carlisle, played by Cameron Diaz, in her first major role. And my God, she looks absolutely stunning. I def had a crush on her in this movie when I was younger. Though in her other movies, she did not look as good as she did here, to me. And yeah, who is my ugly ass to judge, right? Look, I'm not saying she looks ugly in her other movies. She still looks great. It's just that to me, she went from like a 10 to like a 9 or a 8.5. That's just me though. Anyways, let me move on before I get canceled. Speaking of canceled, look at Charlie here. What a creep. Anyway, Tina wants to open up a new bank account, with Stanley being as smooth as possible. I love this pen gag right here. But Tina is really there to get some shots of the bank safe, with a camera hidden in her purse, sending wireless video to the people that want to rob it. I gotta say, I'm very impressed with this wireless feed. This is before 5G, 4G, 3G, fast speed Wi-Fi, and this is a movie about a magical mask, so I'm not saying I'm taking off points for it being ahead of the curve when it comes to wireless technology, but it's still kind of impressive that they kind of predicted this, since now we got stuff like FaceTime and whatnot. Pretty cool. Anyways, the person watching the feed is the film's main villain, Dorian Tyrell, played by Peter Green, who is discussing how to rob this bank with his top henchman, Freeze, played by Reggie Cathy. I hope I said that right. And rest in peace. Anyways, they want to steal all this money so they could take down their mob boss, Nico, played by Orestes Matacena. I hope I said that right. Also, I found out he's a Cuban American, so the name is probably pronounced in Spanish. Orestes Matacena. There we go, just in case. Stanley then goes to pick up his car from an oil change, but the mechanics did a bunch of extra work on his car without his consent. So now he doesn't have a car, so now they have to lend him the loaner.
The loner.
The loner? The loner?
The shittiest car you've ever seen. Stanley goes to meet his best friend at the Coco Bongo Club, but Charlie's just being super neglectful. Since Stanley wasn't fast enough, I guess, he can't go in. Charlie is an ass. Not just for this stunt right here, but he should have gave him a ride to the club. And sure, maybe Stanley didn't tell him that his car got wrecked by the mechanics, but still, you could check up on your boy, at least check if he's behind you to go into the club. So far, he's proving that he's a shitty friend. Anyway, Stanley bumps into Tina again, and gets embarrassed when the valet brings the loaner back to him in front of her. Then that piece of car breaks down on his way home. As he's looking over the bridge, he thinks he sees someone in the water. Now, to me, back in the day in the VHS version, that never looked like a person in the water. It just looked like a bunch of trash. But now on Blu-ray with more clarity, I can see how it looks like a person. Anyways, he goes down to investigate and sees that it's not a person, but a bunch of trash. But he does find the mask, and as he's about to put it on, he gets cock-blocked by a bunch of cops. He goes home and we briefly get introduced to his landlord, Mrs. Peeman, played by Nancy Fish. And man, is she a not nice.
I should have said that.
Stanley tries to unwind by watching some Tex Avery cartoons, but gets curious about the mask and then he puts it on and then he transforms into the Mask.
Okay.
And now we got yet another very quotable Jim Carrey movie. Then hilarity ensues as the Mask gives him magical powers to act like a Tex Avery cartoon. And hey, I know what that is now.
Sorry, wrong pocket.
Ugh.
Don't be shy! Nobody likes a bashful leatherhead!
Wait, what, huh? Okay, so there's a few parts in this movie where I have no idea what the they're saying.
I'll use your empty little skull to break in my new 9-iron.
What?
Someone hit the joint before we cut.
Huh?
Sorry, fellas. Waste not, want not.
¿Qué? Even with the higher quality sound on the Blu-ray disc, I can't understand what they're saying, but hey, at least we got subtitles. Anyways, after taking care of those biker thugs, he goes to pay those mechanics that ruined his car a visit, and shoves some mufflers up their ass. Nice touch with their sign saying rip off. And even the license plate here saying, you twit, I think that's what it says. First time noticing that one. Moving on, Lieutenant Kellaway, played by Peter Riegert, okay, I really hope I said that right, is called into the scene to investigate. He questions Stanley, who is shocked because he thought all that was a dream. But Stanley says he didn't hear a thing and brushes him off. And I love how Stanley says he's late here.
Oh my god.
Late!
Love the escalation. He tries to get rid of the mask, but it magically comes back to him. He gets to work, gets chewed out by his boss, and can't stop thinking about Tina. So Charlie tries to snap him out of it.
A girl like that is always looking for the BBD, the bigger, better deal.
They're also looking for the BGC, which I think stands for Big Green Cash.
Helicopter.
We then get introduced to Peggy Brandt, a reporter for the newspaper played by Amy Yasbeck. Oh, it at this point. And hey, she was married to John Ritter, who's famous for his role in Three's Company, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, and still super relatable today. I would love to review that show one day. Rest in peace, John Ritter. And Suzanne Summers while we're at it. Anyways, Peggy found out that he's one of the customers at that car auto shop place, so she's trying to investigate what happened there by asking the customers if they saw anything weird. Then Stanley recognizes her because he wrote a letter to her column about nice guys finishing last or something, and whatever, it's not important. This review is running long already. Then Dorian gets threatened by Nico to leave town in a week or else. And again, it's hard to understand what the heck he said there at the end. He sounds like Doodle Bob. Stanley has a wet dream with Tina, so he puts on the mask again to go see her, and robs the bank he works at the same time as Dorian's men are robbing it. So they have a shootout with the cops. The mask goes to the club to see Tina performing and gets very excited, so he joins her with his own dance number. And it's a great one at that. It's one of my favorite parts of this movie. Very creative, and I'm not a dancer, but I would love to try to mimic this dance. Minus the cartoony parts. This looks like a lot of fun. Anyways, Dorian finds out that his boy Freeze is dead, and they blame the mask, so he goes to confront him, and damn, they almost shot Tina. But yeah, this whole scene here is pretty freaking hilarious. Like when Dorian asks where his money is at, and the mask turns into an accountant, and all the various characters he turns into while dodging bullets, to the whole cowboy bit with the cough.
Tell Annie M to little yeller out.
Comedy gold. The cops raid the club. Calloway finds a piece of Stanley's pajamas that got shot off. Stanley wakes up the next morning with a closet full of money. Calloway confronts Ipkiss again, but he just brushes him off. Again. Dorian then puts out a 50 grand hit on the mask, but he wants him alive. Stanley is late to work again, but instead of his boss yelling at him, he yells at his boss. Then Tina shows up and he's like, hey, I know the mask. You want to meet him tonight? Sure. Stanley then goes to the office of Dr. Newman, who wrote a book called The Mask We Wear. Oh, and he's played by Ben Stein. Anyway, Stanley tries to prove to him that the mask has magical powers, but we hilariously find out that the mask only works at night. He also finds out that the mask belonged to Loki. Not that Loki. Or maybe. It's Loki, the Norse god of mischief. Not the Marvel version. Whatever. Moving on. We see Calloway is following Ipkiss. Also, nice foreshadowing here to the next dance scene.
If this guy's half as bad as he's supposed to be, we're gonna have a full dance guard.
Never caught that before. Anyways, Tina meets up with the mask at Landfill Park, where he's acting all Pepe Le Pew. Like, so you know this motherfucker is getting canceled. The cops then show up to arrest him and... Okay, why is nobody questioning this guy's powers? Like, everybody should be mind blown. Like, holy shit. How is he doing that? But I guess there's enough evidence here that you could be like, oh yeah, it's just like a spell that he's putting everybody under so they're not questioning shit. And oh my god, is that Margot Robbie? Just kidding. But yeah, damn, she has a lot of doppelgangers. Also, I get this joke now too.
Ow! Where's a camcorder when you need one?
It's a Rodney King joke. You know, the guy that got beat up by the LAP. Yeah. Moving on, we then go to another great musical dance number here with Cuban Pete, actually sang by Jim Carrey. I freaking love this whole sequence, and the song is so catchy. I can't play the whole thing here, but go catch it online. It's probably here on YouTube too. Somebody could upload the whole thing, but you know, I can't. Copyright strike, you know. Ipkiss gets to escape thanks to Peggy, who shows up in her car, while the police shoot at them. It's a pretty straight shot. They should be dead. Like, Peggy's not even swerving to try and avoid those bullets. But whatever. Anyways, Peggy, who seems like the real love interest for Stanley Ipkiss, betrays him. She turns him in to Dorian for the 50 grand reward.
Sorry, Stanley, but you really are a great guy. I just can't lose my condo.
What a bitch. Anyways, Dorian steals the mask, he puts it on and looks like a freaking monster. But pretty freaking cool. They go into Ipkiss' apartment to get back the money, where his dog Milo sees him in trouble. They then drop off Ipkiss at the police department.
Stanley Ipkiss is gonna fall right into my lap.
My god, he's very good at speaking shit into existence. Quickly, Calloway, mention how I'm gonna be a successful movie director and a comic book writer. Tina then goes to visit Ipkiss at the jail and tells him that Dorian's up to something very terrible. So she asks him how does the mask work? But of course he doesn't know. And then they're about to share a kiss, but get interrupted. I love this part right here.
Could I have just one more minute?
I've got to disappear for a while now, Stanley.
Tina leaves, but is being followed by Dorian's men. And oh my god, this is where I learned that bathroom trick. To this day, when I have to go number 2 in a public bathroom, I do this. So yes, the mask has important life lessons. Ipkiss tries to tell the cop that Tina's being attacked, but he ignores him. So then his dog Milo tries to jump into his cell successfully. So Milo grabs the keys, and Stanley escapes, and brings Calloway along with him. Also, it was just daytime. My god, it got dark quick. Anyways, Dorian with a mask on goes to the Coco Bongo Club to kill Nico. And this is another part where I had no idea what he said. So in my head, I just made it up that he said, "I just got paid, I just got laid. Should I say payback?" But no, this is what he says, and it sounds more clear now. I heard what he said now. Anyways, Ipkiss sneaks in, but gets caught. But Tina convinces Dorian to take his mask off to give her one last kiss, even though the whole place is about to blow up. She kicks the mask off of Dorian's hand, and Milo the dog catches it and puts it on, and it's a great scene with him. It's pretty funny and creative. You get to see how the mask affects different people, and a dog in this case. Ipkiss gets the mask back and takes down Dorian's thugs, eats the bomb, and flushes Dorian down the drain, killing him, I assume, and saves the day. And oh crap, I just noticed that's the landlord from earlier. She was at this party. The next day, Ipkiss throws the mask away, with Charlie and Milo jumping in after it. But the lesson here is that Stanley does not need the mask anymore. He could just be himself, and he could get the girl and kiss her and whatnot. So yeah, the end. Okay, my thoughts on the movie is that it still holds up pretty good. I still was laughing in most parts, and was very entertained. The special effects still hold up pretty good because it's supposed to look, you know, cartoony. But I will say that the textures in the special effects look very low, like super low res. It was like a year before that Jurassic Park came out and had, you know, all the special effects that blew everybody's mind. So that was still in the early days of all, you know, CGI and whatnot. So yeah, still very impressive. Now, the musical score by Randy Edelman, or is it Edelman, is great, especially the main theme for the mask itself. The licensed music is also great, with a lot of jazzy tunes and that early 90s hip-hop sound. I actually ended up buying the soundtrack in 2021 when I originally wanted to review this movie, but just didn't get around to it since I was so busy with my short film, Happy Belated, which you could watch right here. But yes, I wish I could play more tracks from the soundtrack, but, you know, copyright. But yeah, I love it. It's 90s as so good. Speaking of 90s, in the behind the scenes clips for this movie, I saw this date on the clapboard, and I just love seeing that because then you're like, oh wow, where was I during this time? Me, I was either already in kindergarten or about to start kindergarten. Good times. As for the cast, they all did great. I'm not gonna go through all of them because this review is already running very long, but yes, Jim Carrey definitely carries this movie, and his over-the-topness really translates well to this movie as he is playing a live-action cartoon pretty much. So he's perfect. And as Stanley, he is very grounded, so he did great there too. Cameron Diaz too. This was her first big role. So yeah, they pretty much discovered her and gave her a career. Though her role was more subtle, she did good, and she definitely looked the part, as she was smoking. 10 out of 10 in the looks department. And yes, even the dog did great here. He is a very smart dog. Like, it's kind of amazing they got him to do all these things. I wonder how long it took. They kind of briefly talk about it in the making of, but yeah. Great job, Milo. As for the Blu-ray quality here, it looks pretty good. Not the best, but not the worst either. It's like in between. If there's ever a 4K Steelbook edition of this movie, I will definitely buy it. Even though physical media is now like a niche market. Damn you, Best Buy, and everyone else. Also, there was a Super Nintendo game and a Saturday morning cartoon for the mask, but I never played the game or watched the series, so yeah, I'm just letting you know that it existed. Now, apparently there was gonna be a Mask Part 2 with Jim Carrey coming back. They even had a contest in the Nintendo Power magazine where you could be an extra in that movie. But it never happened. Jim Carrey bailed out, as he's not a big fan of making sequels, up until recently somewhat, with the Sonic franchise. But we did get another Mask movie in 2005 with Son of the Mask, which back then I did watch a little bit of it because my little brother wanted it, but man, it was terrible. I never even finished it. And no, I am not about to rewatch that movie. I'll agree with all the critics on that one that it sucks. That movie. As for deleted scenes, there were 2 of them that we get to see here. The first one is with Vikings bearing the mask, and this scene just looks so out of place to me. Like, it looks like it belongs in another movie, which is probably the point because of the time period it takes place in compared to the modern setting, but still, I'm glad it was taken out. It's not needed. The other scene is when Dorian throws Peggy into a printing press, killing her. Hey, I guess she got what she deserved. But this scene doesn't really have to to be there to add anything to the movie, so yeah, the movie could do without it. Also, thanks to Minty Comedic Arts video, I found out there was actually a lot more deleted scenes than I thought, and they all look pretty interesting, especially here where we see the biker gang actually attack Stanley Ipkiss before he becomes the Mask, stealing his watch. Now I know physical media is phasing out pretty much, but come on studios, release a 4K cut of this movie with these deleted scenes so we can watch them in full quality. In conclusion though, this movie still holds up pretty damn good. Though I can't put my finger on it. There's something missing, maybe because I still remember all the times I saw it back then, but I just wasn't fully in love with this movie, so I cannot give it a perfect score. Though it's very hard for me to tell you why I don't want to give it a perfect score. It's not a perfect movie. I mean, what movie is? But still, you know, if I love it that much, I will give it a 10. But not for this one. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know. This is something missing. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I guess this makes me a bad reviewer in a sense, because I can't tell you why I can't give this movie a 10 out of 10. But that's okay. I will give this movie a 9 out of 10. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are my thoughts on The Mask. But what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with my review? Please leave a comment below and let me know. Also, if you made it this far into this very long review and you like what you saw, please give the video a like, share it, and subscribe to my page. Anyways, with that, this has been a review of The Mask, just cuz.